And we are back. I am sorry, guys, for the long wait in between these episodes. I just kind of had a lot going on, but it's clearing up now. So, as you can tell, though, I've still been busy. I'm not slacking in any means, but I've finally decorated the base out a bit because when I realized we were going to do Thaumcraft, we were going to need a lot more room. So, I ended up adding a whole nother building for Thaumcraft. And in the process of doing that, I'm like, well, we need to kind of theme this out a little bit more to begin with so we know what to stick with. So I finally decorated the base out. I don't know what you guys think. I kind of like it. I think it came along pretty well. We'll have to look at it a little more in detail later because this episode has a lot going on and we got a lot to get through. So let's get through what we can, and then I will maybe have time to show you guys later about more about the base build, kind of exactly what I did. But you can see for the most part, it's relatively the same as what it was. I just added glass roofs now on top of those other roofs. I left this bottom layer open for the farms because I want more farms like the green one behind me and the gray one there. I'm going to have more up on the roof there, and then the rest we're going to have covered rooftops so we can have extra machines outside if we want, which would be kind of cool. And this is the start of the magic building. It's nowhere near done. It's a work in progress, but it's coming along. And with that, my name's Cryptoduck, and this is Gregtech New Horizons, episode 20. Alright, let's get to it. So, sorry if I go a little quick on this, guys. We got a lot to cover. Thaumcraft introduces a lot of aspects and things that we need to keep an eye out for now. So, there's going to be a lot of terms that you're going to see that we're going to end up just coming to know over time. But to know this, that there's going to be basically what these mushrooms below me will give you if you break them, what we call aspects, and it's also what's in this setup behind me in the jars, but it's the Essentia version behind me. So there's Essentia, there's Viz, which is an aspect that fits inside of a wand, and then there's also research aspects, which are what you get from scanning items in the world. So we will talk about all of that. For right now, the main things that you're gonna see are Viz, Essentia, and research points. So for now, just focus on that because there's other forms of Viz and stuff too. But for now, that's the main thing you have to worry about. Then there's also some bad things Thaumcraft brings into the gameplay, which is flux goo, which is this pink stuff that will come out of your cauldron if you mess up your recipes in your cauldron, and it just makes a royal mess. It is ridiculous. It will spread everywhere, and if you have too much of it, it will spawn slimes, but you are going to actually want to do that at least once, and the quest book will explain why. So keep an eye on the quest book, and I'm going to explain about the quest book a bit and the research book and the path I'd recommend following because it's kind of confusing on the journey to start it, and I know I'm not the only one that was thoroughly confused by this, so I'm trying to see if I can clear things up a bit for everyone because it is very complicated, but it actually seems like it has a lot to offer, and I am super excited to dive through it. And we're gonna dive deep into Thaumcraft. We're gonna have some fun, so might as well enjoy it. With that said, we have bad aspects, well, bad things that Thaumcraft brings in. Flux goo is the one, and if you have too much flux goo, it'll cause another aspect thing, well, not an aspect, but another bad thing that Thaumcraft provides, which is tainted land. And tainted land, if it's like the dark spots that you see already around the obelisk things, all the obsidian tiles that you find in the overworld, where it's a random dark patch, and like if you stand in it, the sun disappears. It will actually turn your biome in your area where you're crafting at into that if you mess up too many times and to have too much goo in the area. So you gotta clean it up right away if you do make a mess, and don't just keep making messes and piling it up, otherwise you may cause some permanent, well, not permanent damage. You can reverse it, it's just really hard to reverse if you don't catch it right away. Apparently the wiki talks all about it. I definitely recommend reading the wiki through. I'm going to link all the wiki links that I mentioned throughout this in the description, so be sure to check all of them out, read them through, because they're insanely helpful. All the cheat sheets are cheat sheets for a reason. They are called that for a reason. They will save you so much time and headache. I would definitely make use of them. I'm going to be using them heavily, and I will keep linking them in every Thaumcraft video, so definitely take good care and use of them because they are handy. You won't regret it, I promise you. The last bad thing that it provides us is warp, and the quest book talks a bit about it actually in this warp warning quest that we will see here in a minute. This seems to be a little inaccurate though. I think the wiki says different things, so I think the wiki's a little closer to being accurate than the quest book. So, but between the two, I mean, you get a good idea of what can possibly happen. Like, there's some bad things that could happen. If you get up to 200 warp, you will spawn a wither right next to you, and that could really cause some damage. So most of them don't do anything harmful, but there are a couple that can do some damage. So keep an eye on that. It is a possible thing. So most of it's kind of silly though. Like, you can start seeing ghosts and stuff. It's kind of fun. You hear a bunch of fake explosions. You'll hear fake creepers sneaking up on you. Don't worry about any of it. You should have your base spawn proof by now, so you should be okay with that. Just follow the quest book to start. Make your first wand. I don't recommend getting the one from the villager. There is one you can buy from a villager. I think it's the heraldic villager that sells it. It's a wand that will give you warp over time, so it's not really a wand you're gonna want. I think it does recharge its viz on its own, but it gives you warp over time, so you don't want that. There's other better wands down the road, so don't worry about it. Make your impregnated stick. It's just a stick with seed oil and an assembler, and you get seed oil if you put any seed in a fluid extractor. Then 2 naga scales, so you got to kill the naga. That's where you got to start going through the Twilight Forest. And while you're in there, you might as well pick this quest up too. Grab 3 miners, go in there, set one down on an aqua and ignis vein, because this is one vein. Set one down on an air and terra vein, and then set one down on an ordo and perdido vein. Once you do that, you'll have all the crystals you're going to need to start progressing through Thaumcraft. You're going to have to keep mining these though, so don't forget about these. And if you don't have any that you've never seen before or found from anywhere, you could bring amber or cinnabar with you, stick it in your ore finder wand, and find them that way. That's exactly what I did. I found all 3 quick and easy that way, because amber and cinnabar are in all 3 of these veins no matter what. It was actually really cool. I found them pretty quick and easy that way. Set a miner in each, killed the naga and the lich. So I would also kill the lich while you're in there, because you're gonna need the lich for your next wand anyway. You're gonna want to kill the lich a few times, so actually kill him a couple times if you can. Hopefully you get lucky and get a few bones right away. It's been hit or miss for me. I've killed him 8 times already, and I've gotten bones half the time maybe, and half of those half the times, like a quarter of the times, it was like just 1 or 2. The other times though, it'd give you like 6 or 7. So if you have a higher luck on your weapon than I do, you might get luckier, but I don't have the highest luck yet, still on the crossbow. But you're gonna want to make this first wand, and once you get your first wand, it's gonna unlock a couple things for you. You can start to make your tables, your book, so you can start to do crafts, you can start to do research and everything else. In order to get your first book, if you haven't found one, I've found mine in a chest, but if you haven't found one, you could just set a bookshelf down on the ground anywhere and then right click it with your wand. I don't believe it takes any viz to do it, but it might. So if it does, you might have to go drain a node first, which is super simple. So you might have to like skip through ahead of that one if you actually don't have any way of doing that. And if it does take some fizz, I don't recall if it did or not. I tested it earlier. Either way, you're gonna want to get your book. So right click a bookshelf with a wand, or find one in a village. You can find them in villages, so they're not too hard to find actually. Well, not villages, but I think you find them in the obsidian things with the chests. If you see the ones with the chests, you'll find a book occasionally. Grab one of those, and then once you get your book, it'll unlock the next quest, which is the warp warnings. So it's not really anything you got to do here besides check it off and pick your reward you want. After that, it says to make your scanner, and I think that's definitely a good call. Make your thermometer. I'd make 3 of these if you can, because you're going to end up making goggles down the road, because they're going to save you quite a bit on your crafts. So they're actually worth making, honestly. I highly recommend making the goggles, because I rushed for them as quick as I could, because I can't stand walking around with this thing. It drives me nuts. But this is what you're going to have to do when you first get this. You're going to have to craft one, and you're going to have to scan every single item. It does give you a list. Check this list out. Start with a torch, because it's going to be the first thing it's going to actually let you scan, or a watering can if you have one. You can start with a watering can, but it wants you to go through this list and scan all these, and this will unlock the majority of the aspects for you. There's some you have to combine if you scroll all the way to the bottom. The last 5 aspects might be only obtainable by combining aspects or creating a node that has them. You can combine Cognito and Ordo, Cognito and Vidium, you know, and do all those. But the wiki does mention a couple more, so check both. So if you're missing 1 or 2, check between the 2. Otherwise, if it's neither of that, if you know the name of the one you're missing, you could check the NEI for it and search for a combination recipe that way, because not all of them are listed in the wiki and the quest book. Only the ones that like you can't get from scanning are. So you can get pretty much any aspect, which is kind of cool. But once you get your book, get your scanner, scan everything you have. You'll start to have plenty of research points. Like I mentioned earlier, everything you scan is going to add to your aspect research points, not to your Essentia. Essentia is only a liquid form. Viz is only a wand form, and research points are purely research points. So always remember that. But you get a ton of them from scanning everything, and it's pretty cool because, yeah, once you know what each trait's parents are to make up that aspect, you can combine those aspects to get more of that. So, like this humanist, I'm running low on. I only have 9 of, but I have 102 cognito and 111 Bestia. So I can just drag and drop the Bestia onto the cognito and it will create another one. And you can do that for any aspect. So if you're low on any of them and you have a buttload of one of both of the ones to combine to make it, you could totally do that. But there is other ways to get aspects if you're running low. Once you start diving into Thaumcraft and start accepting these, you'll get loot bags. And the loot bags, there's a good chance you can get knowledge fragments from them. I don't have any at the moment. I accidentally used them earlier, but if you take your knowledge fragments and you just right click them instead of crafting them together, because if you hit the use cases on it, it only mentions the crafting recipe. It doesn't mention that you could actually consume them for base aspect research points, and that's exactly what it does. You can just right click on them and consume them, and it will give you a base of each for each of them that you're consuming. So it's actually pretty cool. So if you're running low on ordo or instrumentum, because that's what you're going to end up using the most of in this pack, because you just get the most of these, I will explain that in a minute, but yeah, that's what you're going to end up wanting to do. If you're running low, I'd end up using the knowledge fragments if you have them. There's multiple ways you can get them. Some of the bees will give you stuff to craft them too, even down the road once you get your bees going too. So between the two, I mean, you should be fine on it. You don't need a ton, honestly, to start, and everything you scan right away that you already have in place infrastructure wise, scan every machine, every generator, every cable, pipe, everything. And once you scan it, you'll just see that you already scanned it. So if you haven't scanned it though, nothing will show up. So then if it's a machine or something that's openable that has a GUI, shift right click and hold down to scan. Otherwise you can just right click if it's not something that's actually openable. So like you can't actually open this, so just scan that, but it's already scanned. You get the point. So what then you do is scan everything, get your research points going, and then I would immediately open your book, make your scribing and ink tool. Actually, you got to make this next in your research table. So make 2 scribing tools, it says, and then 16 paper. Scribing tools are just feather, ink, and a glass file. The glass file you just shapeless craft from a bottle and a rubber round. That's really simple. And then 2 of the tables, which are just slabs, screws, some sticks, and a screwdriver. You're gonna end up wanting 9 of those tables though, and I'll explain why later. You'll see why. But I would craft 9 of them if I were you, because you're gonna want a ton of altars down the road and other things. And like this is exactly what I was talking about, where it gets a little tricky and confusing. It doesn't give you a clear path on how you should go about it, but I'd recommend at least getting your research table up and running. You could get a crafting table up and running, and then get your Crucible up and running, and then you got the basis of Thaumcraft started, essentially. So it's going to take a table to make your work table, and then all you got to do is take that table, set it down on the ground, right click it with a wand, and it will turn it into a work table. That's all you have to do. And then for the research table, you set 2 down, and then you set a pin and your pin and quill on it, your scribing tools on it. You set one of them down on it, just right click it onto it, and it'll turn it into a research table. And then it'll actually leave it inside, and it'll stay a research table, which is cool. But you could refill any of your scribing tools with just ink afterwards. So like you see, it says 17, that's out of 100. So if you're taking an ink sack, grab one real quick, pop it up here, put my scribing tool in, you could refill any of them, even if they're not empty. So it's kind of cool. Pop it in there, and then now you can actually put any research note you craft into there. But you also want one in your inventory and some paper on you, so you can actually get some research notes like these. In order to do that, let me pull this out, because I just too lazy to go craft one. But like I haven't done, see, and keep an eye on this. Let me point this out real quick actually. So for research, you'll notice some just have a blue description or bluish purple, whatever color it is, and some have an extra purple text below it saying forbidden knowledge, and it gives you a level. Keep in mind, any of these ones that say forbidden knowledge, these are going to give you permanent warp. And the warp, I didn't mention that earlier, is broken down into 3 different types. There's temporary warp, which goes away rather quickly. There's normal warp, which I believe does fall off. It's just at a very slow rate. And there's permanent warp, which doesn't really go away until you clean yourself and cleanse yourself. And that's down the road a bit through Thaumcraft. So don't be afraid to collect a little warp, but be cautious still as you're going through. Don't just select anything and everything, because it's not going to help you. But then I would immediately, though, when you start your research, do this research expertise and research mastery, and that will allow you to see these previews like I see here that's showing the parent aspects, and that will help you so much in completing your research on how to do it. So immediately those won't be here. You would do this one first. It'd be flashing like this one is. It'll be flashing, and then so like here, I'll grab one of these. It's not going to harm anything. Silver wand caps. So all you do is click it, and if you have paper and ink, it's going to consume an ink. It's going to consume some paper, and it's going to give you a research note, and it tells you what it is. So you could stack these up and just like make a bunch of them. And you don't gain the warp until you actually consume the scroll in the end. So don't worry about just putting it on a note if it has warp. You can make a chest of just warp ones and do them slowly as you gain a little more confidence in using it. But don't be afraid of it, honestly. It's not the end of the world. But all you do then, once you get your research note, you put it in your table, put your ink back in if you only made the one like I did, but you're going to need 2 for the quest, and it'll pay off having 2. And you won't be able to see these. There's a cheat sheet. I'll link a cheat sheet. It allows you to type in and say you want Aurum right here. You want the shortest path of Aurum to Ordo or Instrumentum, because that's going to be the ones you're going to have the most of usually. I've been doing a ton of research, so I had way more of these. Like I had 1,000 something like these. But if you put in the cheat sheet, yeah, I want Aurum to Ordo, because that's going to be like the closest one you got here, or Instrumentum, I suppose you could say the shortest path to Instrumentum, and it would tell you to go Crescento to Potentia to Ordo to Instrumentum or something weird. But it's actually a pretty handy little cheat sheet. You just got to input how many steps you have to get to that point. So on the bigger researches, some of these will be huge, some of these will be really small, some will only have 2 aspects, some will have like 10, and the whole purpose of the research is just to connect them all together in one way or another. People like to go around the outside, some people like to go straight into the middle. I think straight into the middle is the shortest option for all of them. Try to meet them all in the middle somewhere. Half the time when it gets to a bunch of these, like you'll end up running some in the middle of their lines, and you won't even have to take some of them that far, which is cool. So it'll make more sense as you do it. You're going to want to find the shortest path to get to one of these 2, so you can chain the rest to the middle on the long ones at least, because otherwise some of these can get a little crazy. So yeah, well, this one is saying go to Crescentio to Potentia see the Ordo there to connect that one in, and actually keep bringing it in from there then. The Lucrum one gets a little weird. This one's greed or it's humanism. That's one that I have not found much of yet. Yeah, I don't get a lot of either of these from scanning stuff, so I'm hoping I can find a better route for these 2. This one I think I normally did oh wait, no. Whoops. There's the sauna. Okay. And yeah, that's literally all you gotta do. Vitterus can go straight to Ordo. So I can do that and plop it onto Ordo there. And voila. Once it's done, it will turn into a scrolled up scroll. And then as soon as you right click on this, you will consume it. So this is where I said, if it's a warp one, this is where you might want to wait on using it. Especially if you're close to one of those warnings and you're afraid something bad might actually happen. Maybe wait a bit and find a way to cleanse yourself first and then do that. Honestly, most of the warp stuff isn't that bad until you get right to the end of the 200. So they're just kind of fun, silly little gags, pranks that they pull on you. It's really all it comes down to. Otherwise, you just right click it, you'll consume it. Now, if you open your book, you'll see it'll highlight wherever that research matches. Sometimes they're in multiple tabs too, and it'll unlock other things in a different tab. So keep an eye on these little stars, because this is telling you what's new and unlocked, and now you can actually see the recipe for it. Take silver ring, silver foil, and stainless steel screws, because the silver one's supposed to be better than a gold one, I think. I'm not sure. The gold caps are basically the way you're going to want to follow. You'll notice the wands, you're going to have to kind of craft them in a specific order, because like you can't take a normal iron capped wooden wand and craft a gold banded great wood wand right away, the one that the quest book wants. You can't just go straight to this. It makes you, it even tells you in here, you're gonna have to make an iron one first. Making gold cap greatwood one requires 30 viz, but your old one's limit is 25. So first you can create it, or if you want, there is the other option. You have a second option. Make your crucible. So you make a cauldron, set it down on the ground, right click it with a wand, and you get a crucible. Once you get your crucible, all you have to do is make some thaumium. And to make thaumium, the questbook gives you a really nice clean recipe for it right here. If you take 4 of each of the shards, put in 5 iron ingots, and then 5 of any of the crystal powders of your choice. I'd pick any of the ones that you're low on, so you get them back plus 1 extra, basically. Make sure your magnet's off, but you gotta set a crucible down on top of a flame. It gives you netherrack on your quest reward, and a flint and steel, so you can actually set it down and start a fire below it, which is kind of cool. Set that all down, set it up, put some water in it. When it starts to boil like it is now, you're good to go. And you want to do these crafts pretty quick, because these do decay and will cause problems if you take your time. Make sure you don't start until you're ready and you know what you want to do. The best, cleanest recipe for thaumium and for ballot shards is just 4 of each shard. It's going to consume the first 5, and it's going to take the 6th one, and it's going to convert that into ballot shards. And then you throw in your iron ingots right after that, and it's going to convert that into thaumium. And then you throw the crystal powder in, and it's going to convert that back into crystals, well, back into shards, and that will consume all of the aspects that you threw into your crucible between these first 5. Because these first 5, if you hold shift and hover over them, especially after you've scanned them, don't forget to scan them, hold shift and hover over them, it'll tell you what aspects you're going to get from each of them. So this makes up for the percento and ferrous or whatever, and then each aspect you're getting back into the balance shard. So it's pretty cool. It's a neat concept once you get used to it, but it takes a lot to calculate these. So I rushed to automate the crucible as quick as I could, and it's really easy. The questbook walks you through it. That's literally what these are. You follow the night order down, the Essentia cooking to this, it's called a Thaumaturge, and then boom, you can automate it. It's really cool. We're going to take all these, we're going to throw them in. Welcome. And just like that, it threw it all back out at us. If we open our miner's bag, the others went into there. It doesn't pick up ballot shards for some reason, but it picks up the rest. And there we go. We have our 5 shards back. We have our thaumium and our 4 ballot shards. And I would do that a bunch of times. Get a good stack or 2 of it, all of it, because you're going to want it. You turn ballot shards into Salus Mundus, and that's a good crafting ingredient down the road that you're going to end up using a lot of. So it's worth automating. It's worth following the quest book on this. Just get through it. It's not the end of the world, but once you get some thaumium, you can actually make your spinning wheel real quick. It takes a small thaumium gear, steel screw, the sealed wood gear, which is just a wood gear in a chemical bath with more seed oil. So you do need a bit of seed oil. I'd recommend planting some peanuts or something. Peanuts are the best for seed oil, but there are other crops. If you have an abundance of like wheat or something, you could turn that into seeds and just throw that in extractor too, and that would work too. It's just going to take a lot because it's only like 3 liters or something per wheat seed. It's not much. All this stuff's sealed on this, so seal the wood stick and seal the long wood stick, 3 tables, a screwdriver, and you get yourself a spinning wheel. And with the spinning wheel, you throw in some string in the top 2, no matter what, and then in the bottom 2 you're going to throw a fine thaumium thread, fine thaumium wire to make this thaumium thread, and you're going to throw fine gold wire again after that to make the golden thread with string for both of them. And then for the yarn, it's just 4 things of string, and that makes yarn, and it's 2 per on all the recipes. So it doesn't take much to make these, honestly. But other than that, you need 6 thaumium to make the robes, the first set of robes. And you're going to want these down the road anyways. So no matter what, you're going to want to craft these. But I would recommend getting these before you do much of anything else, because this is going to save you a lot on the crafting table and having to grow shrooms so much to get you started in here, because that does get a little tedious doing that over and over. But make your robe, make your pants, make your boots. And it all takes enchanted fabric, which you take string, some woven cotton, more string, and you make that in your work table. So that'll be your first work table craft if you do it right. And so you'll take your wand. You're gonna have to make your shrooms first, so you're gonna have to make those in the crucible. So no matter what, I guess do the crucible first and then do the work table. Make your crucible, take your viz shrooms. If you haven't found these yet, I found mine, I don't know, I think I got them in a loot bag actually, but if you don't have them, you can actually get them in the coin shop with some of these Thaumcraft coins that you've been getting this whole time. You can buy viz shrooms down here. I don't remember what unlocked it, but I think it wasn't even before like I found him and had it unlocked, that quest. There is a quest for primal shrooms and vis shrooms. But you have to convert them, and the cleanest recipe for that is a single pumpkin and 4 tiny stone dust. If you take the stone dust, make it small, take 4 of them, and then pumpkins. And if you take a vis shroom, this is only a 1 per recipe, and do not try to stack these because you will mess it up and it will not work, and you will definitely have pink goo everywhere. So you may do it later down the road for tainted and just not care about one and just throw extra stuff in, because you're gonna want tainted goo to scan eventually, like that quest tells you. There's gonna be a few things locked behind this, so you're gonna have to do this if you haven't found anything tainted yet. You're gonna have to make a mess at least once and pick it up, but it's easy to pick up. Just place any block on it and it'll replace it and swap it back out with there once you break it. So it's no big deal. What you want to do is to make your primal shrooms, take a vis shroom, go to your cauldron, make sure your magnet's still off, and then throw this in. Tiny pile of stone dust, 4 of them. Then your vis shroom. And it'll spit out a primal shroom, and you'll have another clean crucible. And that way you can have quick, clean shrooms, no mess, and you can just do that a bunch of times, plan them. They turn into these little rainbow ones when they're done, and then you just take a wand and break them, and you'll see your wand start to fill up. And then you can start to actually do these crafts. So there's like a bit of back and forth with Thaumcraft to get you going, but it's really easy once you start it. I promise it'll start to make sense. It's definitely overwhelming at first though, and I totally understand it. Follow these. I would definitely make the robes. It's really easy. You just need 18 of that enchanted fabric, and yeah, you make those 3, and that gives you 5% right there. And then you could put them on to make the next 2 and save a little bit on just this even. Well, I guess you can't put them all on, but you can put part of them on. But then you could upgrade them to the bewitched robe, which takes bewitched fleece, and that's where that thaumium thread, the yarn, and the golden thread comes into play that I was mentioning, that you need the spinning wheel for. So you'll definitely want it. I went straight for it as soon as I could. I went for the goggles first and then I went for it, but I kind of regretted doing that because that was a bit of crafting just to get there too. So I think I should have gone for the robes first, at least this set, and then done that and then upgraded, but it is what it is. I would definitely recommend doing that. All these are going to be in your book. You're going to have to search some of them. This Thaumaturge is where you start with your wands. You do your basic wand craft, or the foci. It starts with one of these 2, and you're going to have to do one and it'll unlock the other, and then you can work your way down. I went straight to the gold wand and did thaumium already. I don't have the material to make thaumium yet, but after you do that, you're going to want to go over to the left to the great wood, do a great wood one, because that'll be your next wand, and that'll have a 50 vis capacity if you do an iron or gold. You don't have to actually upgrade them to the gold ones. I just did it because if you're draining nodes for vis, because all you got to do is find a node with your scanner, and then once you find it, go up to it, or hold right click with the wand, and you will drain it if you don't have that aspect in your wand yet. Just the only catch with iron wands is if you're draining nodes, they will completely drain it to 0, and you do not ever want to do that because you will break a node and it will never recharge and fix itself. So I do not recommend doing that. That's the only reason I went straight for the gold. So it's really easy to not pay attention and accidentally drain a node. I did it to a few of them with this one, and I kind of regret it because there were some nice close ones and now they just don't work. But this one was great because yeah, as soon as you get to the gold ones, it won't do that anymore. It'll stop at 1 and it'll always be able to recharge at that point. So it's worth doing that, I think. And honestly, it's not that much more of a hassle. You just got to make gold caps, and the gold caps you can only make in the table, but it's just gold and then aluminum screws instead of gold screws. So don't make gold screws right away. These gold caps are aluminum. But that's basically the order of the wands you're going to want to go. Make your iron capped wooden wand, and then go for the iron capped greatwood wand. It's going to take that research, that greatwood wand core, which is just 3 greatwood logs in your workbench, and you'll make greatwood rods, and you just stick those in with a couple other things and some caps to make your wand, and you'll have your next wand. And as you see if you hold shift over it, it has a capacity of 50 and has a vis discount, 95% vis discount. I think it's really like backwards. I don't know, it's kind of weird on the vis discounts. I think it's really 5% that you get, and it's 95 is the percent it's gonna give you. Yeah, it's weird. I would go straight for the gold right away, like the quest book even mentions. It's worth it. And then you could craft your goggles of revealing, and these are totally worth it. And if you do the robes, you might be able to with just the 25. I don't know if it's gonna give you enough to be able to make robes or not of a discount with just the 5% without the goggles. It might be though, but if not, make that second great one like I mentioned. Make the first iron cap, and you can make your goggles right away, and then make your gold one, and then you are set to start your Thaumcraft journey. After that, you can start to craft your infusion stuff, which At that point, your shards should be done. You should have all those miners ready. Go pull them out. If you stick them in a forge hammer, you get 2 per block. So that's all I did. I just stuck them in a forge hammer, and I got 2 per ore block, and it has held me over for a while. And then you're gonna want to make the balance shards, which that'll complete that quest once you do that. So if you do these and these, you might have to wait, but thankfully it's not like a crafting quest. It's just a retrieval or hold it quest. And then after that, you want to make crystal clusters, and you're gonna take these. You're gonna actually make more of these than just the one, because well, actually no, you don't need to, because the mixed ones are shards. Never mind, make one of each and it's just 7 shards in your crafting table with your wand and a little bit of not a heck of a lot. Make the one of each for that quest, super easy, and then that'll open up your arcane stone blocks. And these, don't let this fool you, it does not have to be a colored stone. It could be just plain stone and any of the crystal clusters. So use the ones you just made, turn them all into stone blocks basically, except don't use the mixed ones. Save your mixed ones if you make any mixed ones yet, because you're going to need them here soon for your crystal, for your matrix. Craft, it says 72 of these. I would make more than that. I would recommend, where did I have it? I have it right here, 96, because it says to do 7 altars, and we actually changed this. This was supposed to be back up to 12. The quest book only says 7. I did 12. It's just because a lot of the recipes ask for more than 7 slots pretty quickly. So, and you want things to be symmetrical when you're setting up your infusion altar. Everything has to be symmetrical. And there's 2 ways you could actually go about your symmetry on this. It seems like you can actually do a 2-fold symmetry to where it's like just straight left to right, or you can do left to right and, you know, front to back or whatever, standing in one direction looking at it. So you got to keep that in mind. You're gonna need even more than 12 honestly down the road. Some of the recipes I've seen are like 24 or something altars, so this circle is going to expand eventually. I just started with 12 and that's held me over so far, and I haven't seen a recipe that I've had to expand more yet. So 12 should be a good starting point, I feel like, which is not many more stone bricks than the 72. Like, that's just a couple more batches since they come in batches of 8. But make those, and then that'll allow you to craft some stone bricks out of them. Throw 12 of them into your laser engraver with the ruby lens, and that'll give you your stone bricks that you're gonna need. And then you're gonna want to craft a runic matrix after that. Like, it's finally gonna show you your infusion quest and allow you to do this. And if you go up from here, this is the way to set up your furnace. It's kind of confusing. I don't like how they did this, but your Essentia cooking's here, which you need for your fusion. So you need to get your furnace still. You need to get the Essentia filtering, which is what this alembic is. So you set a furnace down, you set an alembic on top of it, and if you don't want to set up some sort of multi-jar system right away in tubes, you can just make multiple of these and stack them, and it'll separate the elements, well, the aspects into the different alembics. So that's one way to go about it. Just went straight for the universal setup. It was really nice, worth it. A lot of crafting. It was a long day, but it was totally worth it. Yeah, you just set it up that way. You feed it coal or any other burnable, and then you can just basically feed this thing all your junk or anything you don't want anymore. And then there is a cheat sheet. That's another thing I'll link in there that has an aspect list of good ways to get the primary aspects, and, well, like pretty much all the aspects. It gives you a good item that will give you basically just that aspect. Some of them are shared, but it'll list items that are purely that aspect. So like instrumentum, for example, is one you're going to use a ton of if you make a thaumic restorer, because it's the only ingredient used to repair items. It will display perdido as you're repairing them, but don't let it fool you. It's using instrumentum. It's just perdido is the damage aspect, so it's showing the damage left that needs repaired is what it's showing. It's not showing what's actually going into it. So don't let that fool you. But instrumentum, the easiest item to melt down for it is rubber rounds. So you would just take some rubber rounds, throw them into here, and it'll cook them down and throw them into your system. So like potions give you a lot of cool weird things. I guess potion decay doesn't, but like the poison ones and stuff do. Rains give you some cool stuff. So you just throw them in, it'll smelt anything you throw into there. Not anything, but most items. It's actually a really good junk cleaner. And it'll throw them into here and fill the proper designated jar if you have a full setup like this. If you don't, it'll fill your alembics and separate them. So that cognito, all that would have been in a different alembic. And you could sit there with a file, those glass vials, and right click the alembics with those, and you can transport. It's actually a whole bucket, I think, think at a time, which is crazy. But these really aren't buckets. It's just like one item. It's kind of weird. It's a liquid item. It's just, yeah. Essentially is a weird topic. But yeah, you're going to need the furnace. You're going to need the alembic, or a few of these, or some buffer pipes and some jars. You could do that too, just a few buffer pipes and a few jars, and it'll just sort them out that way. Just keep an eye on what you're sticking in to make sure it doesn't have like 20 aspects. Otherwise, you're going to have a full thing for a while trying to get through stuff, or it won't even cook it. So there is that. But that's what you're going to want to set up on top of getting your infusion altar right before you get it going, basically, because you're going to need Essentia to actually infuse anything. You're going to want to do both of these kind of at the same time. And then this next quest above that is the automation for the Crucible. It's called the Thaumaturge, okay? And you have to craft 2 alchemical constructs, which are just 2 vis filters, 2 Essentia valves, and a block of thaumium. So you need at least 9 more thaumium for that. You need 2 Essentia valves, which is 2 thaumium screws, a thaumium gear, rubber sheet, and Essentia tube. And the Essentia tubes are 4 thaumium screws, some quicksilver, some gold nuggets, some small steel pipes. So you do need a bit of thaumium, like I said. Sit there, throw those shards in for a while, get yourself a good stack or 2 of it going, because you're going to use it, and this is absolutely worth it. You could not have to make another Crucible. I just left it there for demonstration for you guys, but you can take the same Crucible and just put those 2 blocks on top of it, and it won't construct it automatically. You have to right click it with a wand. Everything with Thaumcraft you have to activate with your wand, so keep that in mind. If something's not working, try whacking it with a wand. Otherwise, once you get that set up, you'll connect it to a system as well, or if you don't want to do this whole setup like I did, like I said, there's other options. You can, this thing, if you notice, has outputs all over the place on this thing. So you can connect a pipe and do all of those different outputs and input a different jar into each of them, and just connect a single pipe in a jar, and do it that way. But you have to make sure none of those pipes are crossing or connecting to each other, because if you're using basic pipes, these can only hold 1 Essentia type at a time, which is why I like these buffers. These buffers, they can hold up to 8 Essentia item points at a time, and they could be different ones. So if it's passing, you know, if it had multiple things like it did before, it's sitting in different ones at the same time. And there is ways to speed it up with bellows. You have to do the research for the bellows. I do not honestly recall where that one was. I mean, the automation stuff's all in the alchemy. So you'll be in here and make a Crucible. You'll need the Nidor and the Elementum. And then it'll open up your Essentia distillation, Essentia tubes, the sand, advanced Essentia tubes. Well, the alchemical centrifusion, yeah, your automated alchemy. So you're gonna have to do all these researches on top of the quest book. So that's where it gets weird and confusing. It doesn't really mention that. You're gonna do a lot of back and forth. Once you get through it, this will show your infusion even. I think you actually have to pick up the infusion, so that'll be on the artifice one. Go in there, do that research, and that'll unlock a ton of options for you once you open up infusion. And it's pretty simple after that. Once you do that, you'll start to get a good understanding of the research tables, because by the time you get to your infusion, you'll have already gone through a few of these, and you'll get a base understanding of what you're really doing here. These are confusing. You can shrink this down a bit if you lower your GUI scale, but it really doesn't help as much as you would hope it would, so keep that in mind. I left mine big just so you guys can see it still, but use the cheat sheet, the research cheat sheet. Go on there, hit Control F, and you can search that way, and just go on there, search for the name of the one that you heard someone use or seen someone use, and you can find them pretty easy that way, and it'll tell you all the parent aspects and parent researches that you need to find in order to unlock it. So like, it doesn't tell you, so that's the only way it's going to tell you, is if you go on the wiki. Otherwise it's a guessing game, and you literally need to just start researching random stuff until you unlock it, and it's just kind of weird. So whoever made the wiki, I genuinely appreciate their efforts, because that is incredible. They save you a ton of time with those few wikis, so be sure to follow all the links, check the links out. It is absolutely worth it. But yeah, make your stone bricks in the laser engraver, make your pedestals. Quest, like I said, wants 7, and I'd recommend at least 12 to get you started. It never hurts to have more. You're going to use them down the road anyway. But it takes quite a bit of the stone blocks, so 96 of them. Make yourself some pedestals. Make at least, this is technically supposed to be 12. That's still enough, just barely though. That's funny. Okay, so yeah, 12 pedestals, 12 of the arcane stone bricks, and then craft a runic matrix. And this is where you're going to need these mixed crystal clusters. So these are new. You're going to have to craft these in your work table. Takes one of each of the shards. These do have to be in a specific order. It is a shaped craft. So if you can't get it to autofill in, I've noticed this is like a weird little bug with this. If your wand isn't full enough, like without the discount in mind, it won't let you fill it without the wand already in the table. So put your wand in the table before you actually try to shift click it and have it fill it in for you. Just put the wand in and then do it, because it doesn't account for the discount from your robes and from your wand before you actually try to shift it in. I don't know why, it's just how it is. So if that's been bugging you, that's just what you got to get in the habit of doing. Put your wand in first and then start doing all your crafting. And once you get bigger wands and we automate it, which we're going to do in the next episode or two, it won't be the end of the world. So you'll see. It's actually really cool. But let's talk about wands real quick, actually, because I didn't mention this. There's 4 different types of wands in Thaumcraft. There's the wands that you start out with, your actual wand, and then it starts to open up those other options, like I mentioned in this Thaumaturge one. After you get your gold cap and your great wood wand core, I'd go down straight to the silver one, which opens up crafting scepters, and that is just a game changer. If you're gonna dive heavy into Thaumcraft, I don't think you're gonna actually need them. I could be wrong. I mean, I don't know about endgame yet, but I don't think you actually need them if you're not gonna use Thaumcraft a lot. But if you plan on using Thaumcraft a lot, it's worth your investment to make scepters over wands. It is absolutely worth the time to make the staffs and the scepters. But there are wands, there's scepters, there's staffs, and then there's stafters, which I think this is technically a stafter. I don't know why it doesn't say it is, but I cannot put a focus on this one for some weird reason. I don't know what I did wrong making that one, but I have a focus on that one and you can see it on the top. So it's just kind of weird. But the wands are like a universal tool that could do everything. So they're kind of nice if you're just not doing it. I would stick to the wands because it could do a bit of everything. It just, you have smaller viz storage, so you can hold less of the viz from your shrooms, so you'll end up using them a bit more. But it's totally worth it for the scepters because they double your viz storage compared to a wand, but they're only usable for crafting, so you can't put the focus lenses on the scepters like you can a wand or a staff. So like the staff, if I hold F, if I shift and hold F, it removes it. I didn't have a second one to swap, so that's why. Like if you make a focus pouch, it's another separate research up here. If you do the focus ones, I started to do all of them, but these are worth it if you're gonna dive deep into Thaumcraft. If you're not, I don't think you honestly need to mess with any of them really. But there is a portable hole. That's one I want to get here soon, because this allows you to, like, let's say you want to go through a wall and you don't want to poke a hole in it, you can just pop a portable hole. It'll make a little walkable hole through it, and you can walk through and it'll close on its own after a minute. Pretty cool. But yeah, if you hold F, you don't have, I set mine to F, I guess. You need to set it in your controls. If you go into your options, controls, category, Thaumcraft, it will let you set your key button for your changes your wand focus. So I just have it set to F, and that allows you to, if like you don't have extras, I guess you can't swap. But yeah, so you have to hit Shift F. But if you have extras in your pouch, it'll pop up this wheel every time and you can just swap to the one you need. And the pouch holds up to 18, which is pretty wild. So that's actually really cool. So it seems pretty overpowered what all you can actually do with these. But these go only on wands and scepters and staffs. They can't go on a scepter and they can't go on a stafter. A stafter seems to be a pointless item. It says you could use it as a viz battery maybe, but like as you can see, I could put this on this wand or the staff. But for some odd reason, this gold banded staff that says it's a gold banded staff will not let me equip them. I'm not sure why. It is what it is. I think they're worth getting into. I wouldn't really worry about the focuses yet until you get your infusion stuff set up and get all this kind of going. Get a little more automation to simplify your crafting tasks, because it's a lot and it gets kind of tedious doing all this stuff over and over again. And I think everyone understands that. So it's nice to give you some options around it. Once you have that gold banded wand and you have your goggles, you are set to make your infusion stuff. Make your runic matrix, which takes the full 40. That's why you need that gold banded wand. And you do have to hit the HV tier. So if you're not an HV, this is where you're going to get caught up. I actually had to craft an HV, the first HV machine, just to be able to start this, because yeah, you need an Eye of Ender. There, I think, is another way to get it from an Enderman directly. an evolved Enderman, which I'm assuming is only in, it's a galaxy space one. It might only be in the end. We're in a different planet entirely. But either way, you need an HV chemical reactor to make Eyes of Ender. So once you hit HV, you can do that. Make your mixed crystal shards with the balance shards and the regular ones. Super easy. Make 2 of these actually, because once you hit HV anyway, you'll be able to make your calculator anyway, your arcane abacus, which just takes an HV sensor, an HV circuit, and then another runic matrix, and then some thaumium rods. 50 ordo aspects too. But that will actually allow you to check your infusion. I haven't even made mine yet. I've been kind of lazy about it because I figured I went a little overkill on this to begin with, so I figured it should be fine for the starter recipes, and it has been. In order to stabilize your infusion crafts, you need infusion blocks. So if you search infusion, you'll see there's different ones, and I've seen most people either use the quicksilver if you have a ton of it, because it's dirt cheap. You get it from Cinnabar, and you should have a ton of that already from redstone veins, and you'll have a ton more from all these other crystal veins that you just hit. So you should have plenty of quicksilver. You could do quicksilver like I did, or you can make some other fancy options if you want some fancy ones. You could put just heads and candles down if you want. You could put purely crystal clusters if you want. I've seen a lot of people just do the ancient cobble and bury it below it to where they don't see it. Maybe do one nice pretty layer of quicksilver or something up top, and then ancient cobble below it, because this does work. Like, I think it's 6 or 7 Y levels up and down that the stabilizations works. So you can stack stuff above and below this actual runic matrix, which is kind of cool. I just put everything on the floor, but you can actually have like heads dangle in here if you want. I might actually dangle a few. It'd be kind of cool. Drop some chains down or something. If you go and start setting up for this, the max distance from that this thing can pull Essentia from, and I think it's the same distance that it can pull stabilization blocks from and recognize stabilization blocks. I think it's a complete 25 by 25 square. The universal alchemical setup on the wiki, that's another link I'm going to have in there. If you check that one, it mentions the actual distance. It just only mentions it for Essentia, but I believe it's the same distance for the infusion. And then it's like 6 or 7 up and down on the Y. So this is the max distance. This last set of jars is the full 25 by 25 square. So you need a full 4 chunk area if you want to go all out on this thing like I did, and maybe even a little bigger, because like I don't have a ton of room going around this. It's 67 aspects. I think it's actually 68 because the wiki says 67, but I did 67, set up 67, and there's still one aspect I don't have, and I have no clue what it is, because this research is not on the research cheat sheet. Actually, it's like the one and only research I've not been able to find yet. Be free like a bird theory. So I think in that one isn't actually completable yet. I think it was like an idea or concept that never actually went through or something. I'm not sure. That's basically all you got to do. Set up your pedestals in order to craft your in order to actually set up your altar. It's not going to look like this right away. You have to set down your pedestal. You have to set down stone bricks in these 4 corners around it. Leave a block in between, and then a plain arcane block on top of that. That's why it had you make extras. Deep plain arcane stone on top of that, one of each of those on top of that. Set like a dirt block temporarily on top of this. Set your runic matrix on top of that. Break the dirt block, and then right click your runic matrix with your wand, and then it should convert into this. If you make the abacus right away, Refold did a little video on that. I'll show it off in the next video. If you make the abacus, you can right click your matrix and it'll tell you how stable it is in a number, and I think it goes up to 100. So you want as close to 100 as possible to keep it as stable as possible. Each head or something will add like 1 or 2. It's not much, so I don't think I actually have enough to fully stabilize it here. I would need to add a couple layers. It's still pretty cool. It's a neat concept once you understand it, but that's all you gotta do to actually make your infusion altar. And then its recipes are just like any other crafting table. Just think about it like it's a physical item. This is your center, and these are your outside pieces. And just remember, when you're doing your recipes, you look at this recipe, the Boots of the Traveler. I already made mine, but if you do start setting down like air crystals here and here, you need to keep that in mind and set the rest of it accordingly. It doesn't have to be exactly precise. As long as you got the general layout down, it's fine. And you don't have to worry about your pedestals matching the shape. So you could do the fabric here and fabric here, feather here, fabric there, fish, and then fabric. and then do your leather boots in the middle, and then just right click on this. And as long as you have that proper Essentia laying within that 25 block radius, as long as you have these 3 jars, you can make your boots of the traveler. Well, 4 jars. You need a Volatus, Air, Itter, and Aqua. So as long as you got those 4 in a jar in that exact amount, it will craft and complete the craft. If you don't have enough, it'll just shake violently and then just keep shaking and not actually pull any of the stuff in. It will start to cause the flux goo, the pink goo. It will actually create some of it on its own and send it up to the roof and cause things to start breaking if you're not paying attention. So do not start an infusion craft until you know you have enough of the Essentia for that item. You can always right click it with your wand and stop it, but it can break some stuff and make some items disappear, and it's just kind of weird and buggy about it. So I would just wait to make sure you have enough of all of them. Set them close if you're worried about the distance and you didn't count it out, but if you think about it, a 25 by 25 from a center just means 12 out in each direction. That is your max distance that it can be within. Anything else and it won't count it. Anything closer and it's fine. So keep that in mind and you are set to infuse anything and everything. And with that, I hope I was able to clarify this and clearing some things up a bit, because I know it is rather confusing. I think I might have missed some of the research, and if I did, I'm so sorry. I apologize. It's a lot to keep track of. I'm trying. So like I said, some of them are in different areas. So like when you open that Greatwood Wand Core, it'll open up in here, which shows you the transmutative and the Amber Wand cores, which is one of the later quests right in the next section. So it's kind of neat. The Infusion is the whole first section of Thaumcraft, which is actually kind of cool. And if you want, you can make the take your goggles, throw them in a Thaumium helmet, and you'll have a helmet of revealing. And a Thaumium helmet is just Thaumium plates with a hammer. So that's worth doing. And then it takes the 2 thermometers, some gold rings, some hard leather, and some screws. You're set. And it is so worth it because, yeah, you don't have to carry that thing around. Once you find a node, just whip it out, scan it, and then be on your merry way. But that is the start of Thaumcraft. And if I said anything wrong, please feel free to correct me, because I want this to actually be referenceable for people, because there's not a lot of good detailed Thaumcraft stuff out there, and I know it's kind of confusing and overwhelming, and I totally get it. So if I missed anything important, please feel free to leave a comment and let me know. But otherwise, I think that honestly wraps most of it up. That's the path I would highly recommend taking. Get your robes first and then focus on everything else. It'll save you on your crafts quite a bit. It's a lot easier. I didn't actually test it on the wands. I should have tested it on the first wand, because I think it would actually let you craft it without having to make that first gold wand. So I'm not 100% positive on that, so don't quote me, but you might be able to. With that said though, I hope you learned something. Like I said, in the next one, we're going to talk about nodes and the focuses. We're going to go over the focuses more and what their purposes are, and how to get your Thaumic Restorer. What's behind me, that purple little box. I didn't mention that in this one. I meant to mention it, but we are running out of time and this is already getting a little long, so I will mention that in the next one. But do not connect it to the system behind me. If you connect it to the system behind me, it will break it for some weird reason. It stops the whole system, and then anytime you cook instrumentum, it'll clog it up until you remove your restore. So it took me a while to troubleshoot that. I could not figure out for the life of me why nothing was working. I'm like, why is this not working? So that was literally like 2 days of me troubleshooting that, but I finally figured it out. I literally connected in every way possible too, but there's no possible way to connect it to this for some weird reason. It just breaks it. As soon as you take it off, it'll send all that instrumentum back, and then everything will start smoking again and be fine. But it'll literally stop all the smoke behind me that you see, and until you know it's not working, because this thing is meant to be smoking. If it ain't smoking, it ain't working. Otherwise, I hope you found this helpful. If you did, I'd appreciate it if you'd hit that like button and smash that subscribe button so you don't miss the next episode if you're new to Thaumcraft, because we are definitely going to dive through it in detail, because I'm pretty intrigued by it and I'm pretty interested actually. Seems like there's a lot of overpowered things we can do with it. I will see you in the next one. Have a good one. Bye.